Now 10 years have went by. You've been very successful. 5 conference titles. Last year you won a sectional championship, the first time in Morton history. Tell us about these last 10 years and the relationships you developed and how you have grown as a coach.
That's the thing that you and I talked a little bit about today. The relationships with the kids, it's almost like I never left East Chicago. It's the same thing. It's having a blast with the players, having a blast with the families of the players. Though I think the one crucial thing that happened during the 10 years, I was able to get our principal in downtown to bring my wife from East Chicago over to Morton to become the Spanish teacher over with us, because it's just so much more fun when we do this together. And she's friends with the kids, and she knows the families, and that's a huge part for us to be successful, for us to be happy as a husband and wife, that we're working doing this thing together. So we're really enjoying that, and that was huge for us. But the kids have bought into it. More athletes have come out. It has turned into what we had in Chicago. We're back at that level of number 8 on the ladder and striving to get to 9 and 10. And the conference championships were great, but what really turned it was when we started playing some of the better schools and then competing and then beating them. That's what's really turned the program. More kids are coming out realizing that this is a very top level competition, and to play in these big games, you have to be on your game, and it's going to take a lot of dedication. So we're no longer playing kids on Fridays that have not worked year round to elevate our program. It's very competitive to get on our field on Friday night. So once you get to that point, you're going to be playing some pretty good football when your kids have had to beat each other out to get onto the field. So we're very fortunate as far as that goes. Winning the sectional, I think it was just a matter of time when it's going to happen. The good programs do this, and we're fortunate to be part of that group now. And I think it's just every year it's going to keep doing what we did before, where the groups want to be the next group to do the first thing Morton's ever done, and nobody wants to be the group that lets down the last group. And we have a tremendous amount of kids coming back from the previous years, not doubting this group, but almost encouraging them to see if they can maybe swim even farther into the uncharted waters. And that part has been great. Every Friday night at home, we seem to have former players that want to come in and hang out in the locker room and talk to the kids. Once that stuff goes on, you pretty much know that you've got a good thing going. And once again this year, I think another good group of kids representing Morton High School. I'm very fortunate to have that.
Okay. With your success, winning sectional titles, now you have expectations, as you know, every year. Do you feel pressured as an ex-player, ex-coach, to continue to win 9, 10 games a year? Now you need to go to regionals, semi-state. You kind of go into that.
You do, but I think it's a good pressure. It's a wouldn't it be great pressure, and not you better or else pressure. That's the great thing about it. I think once you have those expectations, it's a blast to work hard enough to feel like you deserve it. I don't think the expectations are just, we'll see you next year and you better be good. The expectations have carried over into the weight room, they've carried over into the classroom. Nobody wants to be ineligible where they think they could really ruin a good thing. Nobody wants to be on the field and not be productive, so they've learned to prepare themselves year round in the weight room and through all the different camps that we go to. I think that's a great kind of pressure, and it's an exciting kind of pressure. When we play the big games in front of the big crowds, our kids are excited and they can't wait. And they'll always tell us this is one of the reasons why we play Morton football, is that we're in these big games and we're showcased in them and we're on the radio and we're getting lots of coverage. So you're right, there is pressure and there's expectations, but it's really what fuels the fire for us to be good. And hopefully it just makes us continue to be good. And one of these days we will be great. And who knows, maybe it's right now, we just don't know it.
Okay. You have over 25 years of coaching experience, 17 years of head coaching experience. Next week is a milestone for you coaching. You're going to have your 100th victory.
Wow.
How do you feel about that? And then, what is your future for you? Do you plan on getting another 100 victories, or?
I didn't know next week is 100, Carl, so I wish you kind of didn't say anything.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. It's pretty cool. And you're a player that shared in a lot of those victories. And 100 victories for a coach is really cool, but I think what's really cool is think of all the different players that shared in those 100 victories, and how many different great plays were made by players such as yourself to get the 100 victories. And so that's pretty cool. I've got my defensive coordinator, Tom Zimbala, I think is at 36 or 37 years of high school coaching.
Wow.
And he and I talked about how many great players played in those 37 years. And that's really the way to look at it. So if 100 victories is next week, I'm sure that 100th victory will come on a game that's being played by a great player that helped get that 100th victory. And who knows if there's another 100 or another 10 or 1. But every time you win, somebody on your team does something. And most guys on your team do something to get that win. And there's a lot of collective efforts there. So that's East Chicago and Morton banding together to get 100 victories for a guy that says he was the head coach, but a lot of victories for a lot of great players there. So, well, it's kind of neat you brought it up, but that's the way you look at it.
Okay. Now, you currently right now you're ranked 68th all-time winning active coaching. When you came into the coach profession, did you want to be the all-time winning coach? Were them kind of your goals, or?
Yeah, that never really comes into play, and unless 67 guys are going to die in a couple of weeks, I'm probably not going to move up too much in those lists because there's a lot of great coaches there. I just think, if your goals are wins on a Friday, if your goals are records, you lose a lot of what high school coaching is all about. You lose a lot. You can't bring your defensive tackle in, sit him down and bench him a game or bench him a quarter for missing a math tutoring if you're worried about how many wins you're going to have at the end of your career. You can't tell a quarterback, I don't think your ankle injury is completely healed, I'm going to hold you out, or take it easy, if the end of the day you're really worried about any of that other stuff. So that stuff that they put on your tombstone, and that stuff that people such as yourself bring up, and we have a nice little laugh about it, or a good feeling about it. But to be honest with you, I remember the wins that we had and the losses that we had a lot more than I'll ever remember the record. I remember our Valpo playoff game, and I'll never forget that game as one of the most fun games and best games our team has ever played. And that was a loss, so it's not even one of the 100. But throw that in as one of the 5 most memorable games because of the players, because of the plays, because of the competition. Things like that really what make you get into coaching and stay a lot longer than you probably should.